So to start off with, I'll just log in into my
Okay.
account.
Okay.
As of today, being
Okay.
a demo class, I'll just log in into my account and spin up a new server so that we just get an idea
Okay.
about it. So this is
Sure.
Amazon AWS. This is Amazon
Okay.
AWS to which I'm logging in right now.
Okay.
Uh, so nah, I guess I already have it. Let me check if I have Docker. Oh, I already have Docker. No worries, I will not need Amazon AWS for this. Okay, so the first thing that will be, as a demo class, I'll be giving you a bit walkthrough inside Docker. What exactly is Docker? How will you create a container inside Docker and stuff like that? Oh, let it get started, and we should be good to go. Let's open Docker in one more terminal. That's good. Okay, so before starting, what is Docker? Docker is an alternative for VMware and all those virtualization classical tools that we were using. Why
Okay.
Docker? Docker is because Docker is faster than other classical VMware tools and stuff like that we were using. So as of right now, if I do Docker dash dash, I guess version. So this is the Docker version I have installed in my OS right now. This is the Docker version that I am using, that is 1.12.0. So regarding how did I install Docker, how did I do all the setup, when we actually start the whole course, I'll walk you through the whole process of how to install it, how to do the whole setup. As of right now, just bear with me and assume that we have Docker already installed and everything is done perfectly fine. Okay.
Okay.
So as we have already Docker installed, the first thing to remember is if you have ever tried installing an OS on a VMware and stuff like that. So the basic requirement to install any OS is to have an image with us. Agreed?
Correct.
We already
Yeah.
need to have an image. For an example, if I have a laptop or an computer which has nothing inside it, so the first primary requirement is I need to have an image or an ISO file inside a pen drive or a CD or in some medium. I need to have something that is an image file and I'll plug it in and then I'll start installing it. That is how it works. So in Docker, as I told that Docker is also an VMware tool. Of course, we need images inside it. We need to go through which we can install an OS actually and create that whole virtual environment, stuff like that.
Okay.
So
So Docker
in
is
order
from,
to,
I mean, sorry,
Mhm.
sorry to disturb.
Yeah,
Like it's from anyone. It's a free openware or like it's from Amazon or Move, the Docker.
no, Docker is completely independent.
Okay.
Docker is completely independent and it is completely open source. So to
Okay.
tell you from the business point of view, how Docker works. So if you want to create your custom image, that might confuse you if I tell you now, but I'll just give you an idea about it. I'll tell you that at the end of the class because that will be more comfortable to understand what is Docker
Okay.
hub and
Understand.
stuff. Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, as I was telling, the primary requirement to install any OS is to have an image with you. So same with Docker.
Right.
In case I need to have the first thing I need to have to start a new virtual machine inside Docker is to have an image. So to check which are all the images available inside my Docker container, the command I will type is Docker images. So as of right now, if you see, I have an image called as Ubuntu 16.04. I have another image called as Ubuntu 14.04. I have another image called as
Okay.
Ubuntu 12.04. So how do I get this?
Okay.
So first of all, if I go into this website, if I go into google.com, I'm going inside google.com and I search for Docker Hub. And the very first link, that is hub.docker.com. If I go here and if I search for, let's say I want Ubuntu, I search for Ubuntu, and as soon as I search for Ubuntu, here is something that the first result that it shows me, that it tells that this is an official Docker image uploaded by Ubuntu itself. This is an official Ubuntu image uploaded by Ubuntu itself. And it tells me that if I want to get this image, then this is the command that I have to use. That is docker pull Ubuntu.
Okay.
So this is the command that is used to get the new image. For an example, if I, let's say for example, I want, if I see I have Ubuntu 16.04, but I don't have Ubuntu 10.04, and make sure that we have Ubuntu 16.10 image as well with us. So the command is ubuntu docker pull Ubuntu. So I go ahead, I open it in, okay, here I'll say docker pull Ubuntu. Now I have to specify the version as well, because this is the version I want. By default, if you don't specify version, by default Docker will pull the one which is tagged as latest. For an example, if you see over here, it says 16.04 comma this comma Zenel comma latest.
Okay, understand.
So if I don't specify 16.10 in the version,
Pick up the tag with the latest. Yes.
yeah, right. It will pick up the package which has a latest tag. These are the alternative tags that you can get. So by default, it will pick up 16.04. So now if I go ahead and say 16.04, now Docker will So now Docker is pulling the latest image. Latest image as in 16.10. This is the image that is Docker trying to pull. Now if you take a look, the size of the image is very less. For if you see a normal Ubuntu image going to, and if you go into Ubuntu page and we actually see the image, then normally the image size is 700 to 800 MBs.
Yeah.
But this being an Docker container, so that is the difference. That is what I'm trying to tell you. When you are launching a new OS inside a VMware, that is when you are launching a new VMware. But in Docker, when you are launching a new OS, you are launching a container.
Okay.
This is the concept of containerization. Okay, container is nothing but sandboxing the OS into very small particle. For an example, if I launch this Ubuntu 16.04, it will have nothing inside it. Nothing means literally it will not even have sudo inside it. If we launch a normal OS, it will have sudo and all Python and all the default stuff that it comes with. But this is a pretty much customized one. They have removed every possible thing that they could have removed. Okay. So now, while this is getting downloaded, let's go ahead and spin up our 16.04 OS. So I'm switching my tabs. Now what I'm trying to do is, now I have the image. Now I have the image, which is, if I have to check which are the different images available, I'll say Docker images. Oops, now this is giving me an error because I have not opened it rightly. Let me just go ahead, terminate this and open a new one so that it doesn't give me an error. Okay, now it worked. Now I say Docker images. So just Docker images is the command if you want to check which are the different images available inside your Docker container, okay, environment.
Okay.
Any doubts in this Docker images?
That's fine. That's clear.
Okay. So now we are trying to do is we will spin up a new VM using Docker. In Docker we call them as container. So moving ahead, I'll call every VM inside a Docker environment as a container. So now we are trying to spin up a new container. Okay. So I'll say Docker run in interactive Docker run -it in interactive terminal mode. Now what is interactive and what is terminal? So I stands for interactive. I stands for interactive means as soon as I hit this command, it will attach me to the terminal.
Okay.
Means as soon as I hit this command, it will directly take me to this container. If I don't give this, then it will start the container, but the container will run in background.
Okay.
So now next thing I'll say that name my container. So I'll go ahead and say equal to, I'll call my container as Babu in this case. Then the next thing I need to tell is which is the image that I want to use. So I'll say Docker Ubuntu 16.04. How do I get this image name? If I hit Docker images, this is the image that I want. Yep. Okay. End of the thing. as I'm telling it that it has to run in terminal mode, but in which terminal? That is where I specify bin/bash. So now I'm telling Docker, please run an interactive terminal. Interactive terminal means attach me to that container as soon as it is started. Name my container as Babu and use the image Ubuntu 16.04 and run it in a bin bash mode. Okay, so here is the real magic. So whenever if you have tried installing an Ubuntu on VMware, it takes almost around 40 to 45 minutes to install an Ubuntu. That is the basic requirement, means approximately around 30 plus minutes it usually takes to install an Ubuntu machine. But in container, to spin up a new VM, it just takes a matter of seconds. That is where Docker has an upper hand in all of this. So now I go ahead and enter. As soon as I hit enter, here is, you see the difference over here? Now I'm inside my container. I have run the command and I have spinned up a new Ubuntu 16.04. Now let's go ahead and confirm it. That am I actually inside it? I'll say etc lsb release, and yes, I am inside Ubuntu 16.04. Okay, that's great. Now the thing that I had told you, the image size is only 129 MB. Let's see if I have sudo inside it. It says sudo command not found. So first thing I'll do is apt-get update. apt-get update so that all the repository packages and everything, all the list has been updated.
Okay.
So as soon as this is updated, we'll go ahead and install sudo. Then we'll create a file inside it, and then we'll check something. Meanwhile, if we go over here and if we see, I have switched the tab, right? But in an actual class, I'll just color them and stuff like that. So don't worry, you won't be confused. So now if I see, after hitting the command, Docker pull Ubuntu 16.10. Now if I do Docker images, what should I see?
Sorry.
Now if I hit, yeah. Now if I hit Docker images, what should I see?
Should be 16.4, 14.4, 12.4.
Yeah. Yeah. So now if I hit Docker images, I should see one more image with Ubuntu 16.10 as well, right? Because I have downloaded it using command docker pull. Okay. Now if I hit Docker images, here is the new image. Now let's do one thing. Now let's spin up a new VMware or a new container with OS 0. So how do I do that? I say Docker run in interactive terminal. Interactive terminal is used if I have to spin the container, and as soon as I spin the container, I have to attach to it. So if you see over here, as soon as I have run the command, I am directly attached to it. This is because of IT, right? So now I'm switch the tab again. Now I say Docker run in interactive terminal mode. This time name the container. This time I'll name it to be, let's say, Babu02. Okay. Now the next parameter I want to give is what is the image from which I want to spin the container. I'll say 16.10, and lastly I'll say bin/bash mode. Okay. So now I'm saying Docker, please run in interactive terminal mode, name the container to be Babu02 and use the image Ubuntu 16.04 and run it in a bin bash mode. And how did I get this Ubuntu 16.04? I did a Docker pull on this image. Okay. So, and if I have to see all the images, I say Docker images. Okay. Now, as soon as I hit enter, it will connect me to the container because of this IP parameter, right? So I hit enter, and as soon as I have done this, it is there. Now let's go ahead and check the version. I'll say etc lsb release, and here I am. It is 16.00110. Make sense? Yep. So now let's do one thing. I am going inside my root directory. I do an ls. Now it has nothing inside it. So what I'll do, I'll create a directory. I'll say Babu backup, and I have created a directory. Now I'll go inside the directory that I have created. I'll do an ls. Now here I'll touch a file. I'll say, let's say I'll call it as Harsha. Okay. And let's say I'll echo some content inside it. I'll say, hello, I am still here. And I'll cat it inside Harsha file. Now if I do cat Harsha, okay. So any doubts still here?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So what I have done, I have created a new container, named it as Babu2, and as soon as I have done that, it took me inside the container. I have checked the version, and after checking the version, I have created a file called as Babu backup. Inside that, I have created a file called as Harsha, and inside Harsha, I have written some content, some random content inside the container called as hello, I am still here. Okay. So now what we are trying to do, now we'll create our own custom image. As if you see here, till now we are only playing with Ubuntu or all the official images that are available. Now I'll go ahead and create my own custom image. So I'll exit out of this. And if I have to check which are the different containers running, which are the different VMs or which are the different containers running, for that case I'll say docker ps-a. As soon as I do docker ps-a, here you see it gives me two containers over here in the list. One has been spinned up from 16.10 and one has been spinned up from 16.04, and one has been named as Babu02 and one has been named as Babu. But Babu02 was been exited 13 seconds ago. Why? Because if you see the logs above, I had exited out of this, right? Okay. So it is an exited state. But Babu01 or Babu container is still there. It is still up because in the other tab, it is still there, right?
Right.
So in any case, if I have to see which are the different containers running, I'll say docker ps-a. Okay. Now let's say I want to see only the containers which are only in up state. So if you see, I have many containers. Out of this, only one is in up state. Rest all of them are in exited state. Now I want to see only the containers which are in running state. So I'll say docker ps. Now if you see, it is showing me only containers which are in running state, right? So if I have to see all the containers irrespective of the state, then the command I type is docker ps-a. But if I have to see the container which are only in running state, I say only docker ps. If I have to see all the images, I say docker images. If I have to start a new container, I say docker run, right? So now what we'll do, we will create a new custom image from this container Babu02, and we'll spin it up and check if this Harsha file is still there. Okay. For images.
No.
Okay. So what I have done, I have created my own image from this Babu02 image. Now for that, the command I had used was docker commit -m, the message that I want to give, -a author, and the Babu02 is the name of the image or the name of the container that I have pinned up, and Babu02 is the actual image name what I want to give. So now when I say docker images, now here I see that I have one more image, that is Babu02. And why it was been named as Babu02? Because in my docker commit I had told it that this is the name that you have to give to the image. Okay.
Right.
So now what we are trying to do, we will spin up a new container using this Babu02 image. So I'll say docker run in interactive terminal mode, and the next thing is name my container. This time let's say I'll name it as Babu03. And the image from which I want to use, previously I was giving Ubuntu 16.04, Ubuntu 16.10, but this time I'll name it as Babu02 because this is my new image. Babu02 and
No. Hello.
how did I create a new image? Docker commit.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's clear.
Okay. So as soon as I did that, I spun up a new container. I said docker run, and but this time when I gave the image name, I gave this Babu2 image because this was the custom image that I created. I ran it in WinBash mode, and when I checked it inside and I catted the file Harsha, and this is the same content that it showed me. Okay. So now what is the actual use of it? So in actual production environment, what happens whenever we have a container, the container usually has something inside it. Means whenever we have a VM or anything inside, we usually have something inside. For an example, let's say we'll have Apache with Java and everything installed inside it. So what we'll do in an actual production and we'll spin up a container, we'll do all the setup that is needed. For an example, we'll install Java, we'll install Apache, we'll clone the code, we'll do everything that is needed inside it, and then we'll create our own custom image out of it. And as and when it is needed, we'll keep on spawning up the containers from that custom image. That is our base image, right? So that is how it works. Right? So yeah, I guess for demo it should be fair enough till here.
Yes.
Yeah. Any doubts?
Okay. So basically, I mean, I don't know how it will work in the real-time environment. If I take a look at real-time environment, so people who go for like a DevOps environment, they will usually go for Docker. Is there any other equivalent tool they're having as of now?
As of right now, it would be Amazon AWS virtual machines.
Okay.
The easy way out. The virtual machine that Amazon AWS provides. That would be an alternative tool, but most of nowadays what is happening, people have VMware, and upon VMware they have this Docker and everything.
Okay.
Because in that way I can have my single VM perform multiple tasks.
Okay. So okay, fine now. There's one more question on this. I think I'm good to go with this. I'm happy. But do you have any like module or module heading what we're going to cover on the kind of any module list you have, how we are going to cover this, and what other topics we're going to cover like that, so that I can.
Yeah, I have it. Let me just show you there.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I'll be covering. This is basic DevOps class. In this, I'll be covering Docker. Then I'll be covering AWS, basic AWS, that is VPC, EC2, RDS, LAMP. And then I'll be covering Ansible, basics of Ansible, basics of Puppet, basics of Chef, then Jenkins, and one of the monitoring tool that will be Nagios. And then we'll be setting up and two-tier architecture. And all of this we'll be doing in a form of an example. For an example, while learning Docker, we'll be creating a two-tier architecture to actually learn Docker.
Okay.
And one more thing, throughout the course, this is the only class when you will be seeing my screen. The rest of the whole class, all the class will be done